My boy thief best friend couldn't stand not being the center of attention, and she catfished the only guy I am close to while I was asleep. Years later, I sent her the greatest revenge. Jane and I had been best friends since we were in diapers. We had the typical friend fights, but nothing serious, mostly over toys and bands. Fast forward, I was in grade 8, Jane was in grade 7. A new kid started at our school, I'll call him Todd. Todd was in my grade, and we became friends. He would hang out with me and Jane at recess, which is the only time I saw her in school. After school, we would hang out at her place or mine. A few months after Todd moved to our town, Jane invited him to hang out one day after school, too. I didn't care, we were all friends. It wasn't until around Easter that year that I noticed Jane and Todd hanging out more, without me. At first, I wasn't bothered by it. I figured maybe they liked each other, which was fine. And it turns out, they did. They started dating. I only started to have a problem with it after Jane revealed to me that she and Todd had had intimacy. I grilled her, being the stupid kid that I was, and urged her to tell me if Todd had pressured her. The girl was only 13 after all. She swore up and down that no, he hadn't, it had been her idea. Anytime I tried to talk to her about it, she would accuse me of being jealous and make fun of me for still being a virgin. Jane starts high school. She is boy crazy, throwing herself at my guy friends. Here is where I started to question our friendship. Of course, I brought Jane into my friend group in high school to spare her the awkwardness of starting high school alone. She would constantly put me down in front of everyone, asking my guy friends out of the two of us, who would they rather F, etc., just vulgar things. The guy I had been dating for a few months broke up with me, and the next thing I knew, they were dating. This pattern continued for years. I could not tell Jane who I liked, or she would sleep with them. I could not date someone or she would sleep with them. Once they were with her, they would stop talking to me or be downright rude to me. However, there was one guy she could not have, and I knew it drove her insane. Enter Cole. A bit of context: my older sister had moved to a different province and met her now husband, whom I'll call Max. Max and Cole are still best friends to this day. Cole added me on MSN, and we became long-distance friends. If one of us had a bad day, the other was there to listen. We shared funny stories about school, homework, friends, everything. Over a year, Cole had become one of the most important people in my life. This drove Jane wild. She constantly demanded I give her my email so she could add him to MSN, and back then, Skype as well. I adamantly refused, because I didn't want to lose Cole as a friend like all the other guys she'd gotten to. After a while, Jane stopped asking, and I figured the issue was over with. I remember waking up one day to the most confusing message from Cole. I don't remember his exact words, but instances like that continued for a while until later that year he just stopped talking to me. I was devastated. Fast forward, we started talking again, maybe 6 months later. Over the next 4 years, our friendship developed into a weird pattern of things being good, and then he would go off on me and stop talking to me again. That's important. One night, 6 years after all this began, Jane was at my apartment, and we were having a few drinks. I ended up going to sleep early. Later the next day, Cole texted me asking why I had given his number to Jane, with screenshots. I called her immediately, and she admitted having taken his number from my phone while I was sleeping. I cussed her out and hung up. I will never forget that day. The panic, the tears. I ended our friendship that day. I'll skip the drama from that period, but long story short, Cole made it clear to Jane that he had no interest in talking to her. Cole and I continued to talk. Last year, I flew down to visit my sister, Max, and their kids. Now, I live here, with Cole. Don't get too excited yet though. The best part is coming. 2 days ago, Cole and I ended up fighting, and no, I don't remember what started the fight. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he recalled a conversation we'd had years ago. Not to throw in my face, but to try and explain his side of the argument. I was super confused because we'd never had that conversation. I told him so, and he said, "Oh, maybe it was when you were staying at Jane's place then, but we had that conversation." And it just clicked. I asked him about the times he stopped talking to me. I needed to know if I was right. It turns out, every time he stopped talking to me lined up with a period where Jane was around. Turns out, Cole had been talking to her, pretending to be me, from my MSN, Skype, Facebook, and sometimes, cell phone. For years, he recalled very intimate conversations that I know for a fact he never had with me. He told me how uncomfortable it made him back then, and how weird it was that I would be me and then all of a sudden be that. The relief to finally have answers is indescribable. To finally be able to put the confusion and past anger to bed, to let it go. You're probably wondering what happened with Jane. Well, petty as we are, I decided to look her up on social media and sent her a message telling her we finally figured out what she'd been doing all those years. And despite her trying to keep us apart for years, we are together and very much in love. Sending the picture of my engagement ring was a nice touch as well. The best revenge is me and Cole, the love of my life, living that life to its fullest, together.